All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the channel. I'm Kyle, AA0Z, and welcome to the new CW Operators Roundtable. We do this every other Monday night at 8 p.m. Central, where we talk about topics regarding new CW, learning new CW, learning CW. Oh my gosh, my head is still fried from trying to get through Huntsville. We're going to talk about Huntsville in a minute, but yeah, we just talk about what it takes and tips and tricks on learning CW as a new CW operator. One of these days, I'm going to write down a script and I'm going to say it every time at the beginning of the stream, but I'm not that organized. I kind of just wing it. So we have our usual cast of characters. Vince, hello. How are you?
Hello, I am good. Good after evening, noon. How are you?
Good, good. Hello, Tim. How are you?
Doing great. Thanks.
TJ, hello.
Howdy. How's it going? Haven't seen you in forever.
Yeah, 24 hours maybe. Dan, hello. How are you?
Hi, wonderful. Happy to be here.
And Adam in North Carolina, hello.
Hello. Good evening, everybody.
So usually we go around the room, but what we're going to do, Tim has got to skedaddle. He's got some things to do, and he's too good for us. So what we're going to do...
Oh, no.
I'm just giving you crap.
I'm hurt.
Tim runs a stream at noon Pacific, which is 2 o'clock my time, and he does a little bit of CW practice. So I think everyone in the audience should know about his stream. So Tim, give us a little update of what you're doing here.
Yeah, so to kind of encourage myself to keep on the Morse code practice train, I've been running a Morse runner and sometimes some other Morse practice software live stream every Wednesday. Usually we get started around 12:15 Pacific. So come on by to the live stream, ask me any questions about Morse runner. I start with a little warm up and usually kind of start getting my butt kicked by the software in short order. But it's a lot of fun and yeah, just a little lunchtime practice.
Yeah, it's fun. We Tim runs the session on his computer. He shares it, and we follow along in the chat and put what he has sent or whatever the Morse runner or whatever the program he's running into the chat. It runs about 30 seconds behind, but yeah, it's fun. It's good practice.
Yeah, people play along in the chat room and entering down the call signs they hear, and they get in trouble for sending too many messages into the chat.
Right. So if you're getting the message of you're sending too many messages, your error rate is high. Your busted QSO rate is high.
No, I think that's when we were running a high word per minute and 3-letter call sign, so the QSOs go pretty quick in the software. But yeah, come on by to the live stream, hang out, and ask me any questions about Morse Runner. If you're curious about how the software works and how to get set up, let me know.
Yeah, very good. Thanks, Tim.
Right. Thanks, Kyle, and I'm going to be hanging out in the chat. Look forward to hearing this discussion. See you, everyone.
Very good. Thanks, Tim.
See you, Tim.
So we went to a small hamfest over the weekend. There was Huntsville Hamfest. It is, it's not as big as the other two. I think it draws between 5,000 and 6,000 people, but all of the big vendors are there. So ICOM, Yaesu, Flex, Elecraft. There's some other vendors that show up. They've got a marvelous flea market, a great flea market. And I saw TJ there. And so I wanted to ask TJ.
I didn't sell anything, by the way.
TJ had something to sell. But also, one thing that I noticed that I didn't see a lot of were CW keys. I did not see a lot of CW keys. I saw benchers and Vibraplex, the regular ones, but I did not see a lot of straight keys, old straight keys, or exotic keys that had some wear and tear on them that were other than the bencher or Vibraplex. Did you see anything like that, TJ?
No, I just saw I saw one guy who's selling an okay condition bencher for $60. I was actually just going to buy it, but when I went back, it was gone. So that was good.
Saw a couple of other ventures, and then just a handful of Vibroplex. I saw a guy, he had like 2 bugs or something like that, or 3 bugs, and yeah, that was it.
Yeah. For everyone that was in the chat, hello chat. If you saw some CW keys in the flea market, put what you saw and how much they were. I was looking, and there was not many keys to be found. Maybe that's a good sign that nobody was selling their keys and CW is alive and well, which it is. But people are holding on to their keys. I did interview the N3ZN key guy, and that's going to be coming out on the channel. I was asking him about what would be a new, if you were get a key from him and you're a new CW operator, which one you would get. So we rapped about that for a while. But yeah, did you pick up anything else, TJ, that was notable?
Nothing. I was hoping that my backpack would be empty. I had 2 817s for sale. One of them is new in box, and what else did I have? A TH74 that nobody even asked me about. I had a big sign on my back, which is kind of silly looking, but yeah, what the heck?
Yeah.
Oh. I wasn't sure how much stuff was getting transacted, but I was talking to one of the folks in the flea market, and he said, "Yeah, it's been pretty good." So
I know that Josh from Ham Radio Crash Course, he picked up a K2, and then I saw another K2 that was being sold, and so there was some old CW rigs, that I saw, but I just didn't see a lot of keys. So, oh well.
K2, is that the little cute thing he sent
Yes.
a photo? Oh,
Yeah.
that was so pretty.
And then the what is the bigger one? The one that was 10 watts, and then Elecraft released a 100-watt version of that. Is it?
I thought he picked up a K1.
Was it a K1 that he picked up?
It's like the little baby one.
Yeah, but it's not like the Mountain Topper series. It was the.
Oh, it was a K1 he picked up. I'm just looking at a photo.
Okay.
It was a K1, little tiny wee thing.
Okay, so the
K1
K2
is slightly larger.
Yes. Okay, so that he picked up a K1, and then there was a K2 that was for sale in the corner for
It
like.
was still there when I left, even.
Well,
Nobody fighting that.
Do
Did
you
you see-
mean like KX1 and KX2?
No.
Because the K1 is decent size. It's not that small, and the K2
No.
is pretty similar.
Let's-
Well, so there were the original K1 and K2, and they were this big and this big, and I
No,
owned a
they're-
K2,
They're
and
they're bigger.
there's the desktop versions as well,
Ah,
but the original K1, K2 were little tiny kit things. I had a K2 and I sold it off, and I shouldn't have. Oh well, regret.
Yeah. So the.
Seller's remorse.
Yep. Okay. So I'm looking at a picture here. So Josh picked up the K1, which is that little bitty thing, the little bitty guy. And then what you're saying, Vince, is Elecraft came out with the K2, which was the
had
bigger.
replaceable modules. Yep, slightly wider. It was
Yep.
only
And
this
it was originally 10 watts, and then they put a 100-watt amplifier in it later, right?
big. That's right.
Okay. So there was a K2 for sale, and I know exactly why it was still sitting there on Sunday, TJ, because they wanted like $800 for it.
Oh, is that real? That all, huh?
Yeah.
Dang, I should have held out when I sold mine.
And I was like, "You really want $800 for this?" And he goes, "No." And I go, "What do you want?" And he goes, "I really want $1,000." I'm like, "I'll see you later."
Telling you,
Holy.
there's an Elecraft cult. It's I've got a K3S I was thinking about selling, and I was looking online, and it's like they're going for big bucks. It's wild.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And this
So,
was-
anyway, yeah, I mean, I think that I'm always surprised on how things are priced in flea markets. And I guess, they move, product moves because, people buy, those prices. But I don't know if people buy those things because they don't know what a good price is, or they're a collector and they just want it.
I think a lot of that. people just want it. We're in the day and age of instant gratification, I think.
Yeah.
Give it to me.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, whenever I saw that K2 for $800, I was just like, oh my gosh. And then I did some research, and they were selling on eBay for $450, and I'm like, okay, there's one on eBay for $450.
Okay.
So
Yeah, I thought some of the prices were a little bit on the high side for a lot of things. I saw a couple of 857s, two of them. I think one wanted $1,300, but there was some
Ouch.
accessories that came with it, so I'll give them a little bit of get out of jail free card there. But the other one was I think 1,100, and it just had like a shoulder strap.
yeah. Well, like you said, TJ, instant gratification. I see it, I want it.
Yeah.
I don't want to pay sales tax. I don't want to deal with not sending someone PayPal and not getting it. Yada yada. Lots of issues. So, all right, on to the main topic here. Vince and Dan have got a kit that they are selling, a Morse code tutor kit, and I'm anxious to hear a little bit about this. So I'm going to hand it over to Vince and Dan to have them go through their kit and to show us everything that it does.
Well, Kyle, hey, real good. Thanks very much. Dan and I live 926 feet apart, and there's a story behind that for another time. But needless to say, we work on a lot of projects together, and we got each of us got handed a Whiskey 8 Bravo Hotel Morse tutor kit from a coworker, and he built what is called the Blue Pill version. We're marketing the ESP32 version, and we thought, hey, this is pretty cool. I wonder if we can make a little bit of beer money and kit these things up, or Morse code key money, as the case might be, and kit these things up and sell them to people like us who want to learn code. And so that's really the genesis of it. So we brought in a bunch of parts from Amazon, and we learned all about failure rates with Amazon. And then we brought in parts from China, and we waited and waited and waited because it's not instant gratification. But it brought the price down, which is good. And today, what we're doing is we are offering a kitting service for one of the really popular kits that's out there, except it's a build it yourself, and that really scares a lot of people off. They don't want to download a Gerber file and get one board made because you get 5, you get one, right?
Right.
They don't know how to program an ESP32.
Right.
Shocker.
Yeah.
I don't either. That's why Dan's my partner in crime, and they don't necessarily even want to do the assembly on this thing. So what we started off was a service whereby we're doing the kitting and the programming. We're pre-testing all of the major modules in the device so that we know they're working when they leave our hands, and that reduces failure rate out in the field. And we put it all in a little bag, and we send you all of these parts that you can see here out on the table, and we point you to where the instructions are that you can download them, and you can follow them along. If you're a newbie to soldering, this is a 2-hour project. If you are experienced in soldering, this is a 1-hour project. If you don't own a soldering iron, we got you covered. So anyway, that's kind of the genesis of it. I'm going to toss this over to my partner in crime, Dan. I shouldn't say crime, my partner in this venture, and in many other projects together. No crime involved, right? So we build battery packs together and do all kinds of repeater work and a whole bunch of stuff. So anyway, Dan, why don't you pick it up from here and start talking about features and stuff?
Sure. Really just to reinforce what you said about, we take all the pain and strain out of sourcing all the parts, buying 2 knobs, buying 1 resistor, that sort of thing. It's hard to find just, the right quantities. So that's one of the key things. We've mentioned circuit boards. Minimum order for many of the board houses is 5. And, what do you do with the other 4? I mean, you can mess one up, but, you end up with a whole bunch of extras. So taking all the pain out of it, the weight, that we take out of it as well, because we get together plan on a batch, and we get the boards, we get the ESP32s, we get the displays, all that kind of stuff, and then we put them together into little packages when all the parts show up, and then we advertise that we've got another batch to go. Those that want them assembled, I've gotten to a point where I can put them together pretty quickly, and they're fully tested and fully functional when they get shipped out the door. So just wanted to add that to it. So some of the neat things that it does is there's when you first get it, first thing you want to do is go through the config menu and set your speed, set your Farnsworth spacing on the characters, that sort of thing. You can adjust the tone, the audio tone that you get to listen to. If you're whatever your preference is, there's quite a broad audio range in terms of frequency. You can even change screen colors and stuff. The code that Bruce Hall has written is pretty amazing. And, there's not a lot of, I've reached out to him on a little while ago. And to be honest, there's not a lot of things that I could think of to recommend that he could do different. So, he's tweaking it from time to time, minor bug fixes, that sort of thing. But it's been around now for a while that his code is very, very stable, and it programs up very easily. We test each one, and for the screen display and that sort of thing. So so you do the config, and then you get into the two different types of practice that you can do, and that is you can do receive practice and send practice. And receive practice, that's when it sends to you. So using Coke method, so it'll start with a K and an M, and add a letter and so on. The way that Coke developed that method, you can do letters, words, numbers, call signs even. So he's got just kind of a random list of call signs, mixed numbers, letters, etc., etc. QSO is kind of interesting because it will send you, basically it picks a bunch of words to build phrases to make a QSO. So what's in a QSO, right? Call sign, signal report, location, rig, that sort of thing. And so it actually puts something together that you can actually use as if you're going to have a conversation with somebody.
Yeah.
One of the other things that's kind of interesting is it says SD card in the menu. If you put a FAT formatted SD card into the card slot at the back side of the display, and it has one or more text files in it, just straight, text files, it will send you whatever is in that text file. So if it's, a chapter of a book or something like that, and if you've got multiple text files when you first start it up, you can select the file you want it to send you, and you select the file, and it just starts to send it.
That's awesome. That's really awesome.
It is. It's a brilliant feature, right? Because whether you're driving to work or something like that, and this thing, you could just have it send to you in the background, and you can practice decoding, right?
One of the things that I was trying to get a list of call signs, and you put in to Google, give me a list of call signs, and you got to go through iterations of web pages to just get a list of call signs. So I went on Chat GPT and said, generate me a list of 50 United States or North America call signs, and it just spit it out, and I just copied it and put it into a text file. It was great.
Yeah.
What else? You could also go to if you do a lot of summits on the air or parks on the air, I think on each of those sites you can likely find a list of
Yes.
the most common chasers or most active
And
chasers
activators.
or
Yeah.
activators.
Yeah,
And,
sort them
put
or
those in. It's a
randomize
great way to
them,
go.
whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But-
any source of, just straight text, and as long as there's a minimum of one space between each of the call signs or a new line or whatever, and it will just send it to you,
Yeah.
right?
What,
And
what
it
we're
will
get-
send, sorry?
I was saying we're getting a lot of comments about the big screen. Everyone loves the big screen in the chat.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. It is a 3.2 inch TFT display.
3.7. I just measured it.
Okay. Yeah, it depends how you measure it, right?
That's right.
Circumference, but the other thing, so about sending that, sending you the text file, in the config where you set the speed, it will send it to you at that speed. So, as you get more proficient, you can turn the speed up a little bit, and that speed carries across for all of the code that it sends you.
Yeah. This is great. I love it. I mean, I'm fascinated by the big screen. I had a Morse Reno, and the Morse Reno is great, right? I think there's a lot of Morse Renos out there, but I was frustrated with the small screen.
Yes, me too. Yeah, I had a Morse Reno. I've had a few tutors, and I had the Morse Reno, and the Morse Reno comes close to this in terms of the feature set. The additional thing the Morse Reno does, besides having those cute little capacitive paddles that are built into it, are having it has the ability to be a radio's keyer.
Yeah.
So this doesn't have a keyer, but it's got a nice big screen, and for guys whose eyes are older than 39 years, that's kind of important. Just saying.
Yeah.
What's the CW speed limit?
Yeah, what's the speed limit?
Let's see what speed we got pulled over.
What's the speed limit on this Autobahn?
Is 50 fast enough for you, Charlie? Let's see how fast Charlie can receive QSO. That's 50 at 10. There we go. Anyway, yeah, we can have a lot of fun with that. But so
Yeah.
it's got some really good feature sets to it. It's a fun kit to build. If you're a kit builder, you're gonna have a hoot putting this thing together. Hour or two soldering it up. We provide with it, all the header pins and stuff. You'll have to break the header pins up. There's an audio amplifier module. We preset the buck converter module for the voltage. It comes with a couple of knobs, and yes, you'll get the same color knobs because we make sure that we send you a matched pair when we put them together. There's even a little checklist. Inside it that says, yes, we've quality checked to make sure that we've sent you all the parts.
Yeah, we do,
Nice.
to make sure we don't miss something. That would defeat the purpose. The other thing is, you can see on the board, the silk screen on the board has the placement of all the parts.
Yeah.
So when it comes to assembly, it's brain dead simple, right? There's, the footprint of the ESP32. There's two different sizes of pin spacing of the ESP32 modules. And so there's actually two rows of pins, right? So if you get the narrow one versus the wide one, that's been taken into account. It also supports a smaller display, but why would we sell a smaller display? So we go with a larger display. So the assembly is very clean and neat. The instruction set is really, really good, including some intermediate steps for testing.
Yeah.
So, you build, you test, you add a few parts, you test it, and it's all spelled out. So back to the features. So then on the send side, you go into the send menu and you can have it send you, oops, I have to.
The coolest thing
along
that
with
this thing
mine.
does for me as I'm learning, sorry, Dan, is it tells me if I'm forming the letters up right. So for example, if I put this thing in practice mode, and I think I send a K, so I'll turn up the volume so you can hear it. And it says, hey, indeed, you did send a K. Oh, that wasn't a K. That's the single biggest thing this thing does for me, is it gives me that instant feedback on whether what I'm sending is right or not.
Yeah.
And as we're all learning, we struggle to get that spacing right in our heads, and we think we know what it is. This thing will tell you what it is.
Yeah.
It'll tell you if you're right.
Yeah.
Go ahead,
And
Dan.
if you're struggling with your key settings and adjustment, right, you'll certainly find that, your the way that your key is working or not working for you. Maybe you have to slap it too hard, or it's too touchy, that sort of thing. And if you're shaky after 4 cups of coffee, then it'll definitely give you an idea of what's going on. Copy 1, copy 2. It sends you one letter at a time, and you parrot it back, and it tells you if you got it right or not.
Yeah.
So, really good for drilling into your head. Repetition, of course, is a good way to learn. And then the absolute thing that this thing is probably the coolest thing that it does is on the menu, you can see it says two-way. And now if you've got 2 of these devices, whether you own them yourself or you bring your buddy over and he's got one as well, right? You select two-way, and when you both start that two-way mode, and you wait for a second, there's a little square up in the top corner, and it will ideally turn gray. Oh, the demo gods are frowning right at the moment. All right, let me try that again.
So it looks like it's blue. Is it blue on your screen?
No, it's gray when it's...
But is
It's
it
gray when it's thinking about it. Now it's
Okay,
green.
there it is. Okay,
So-
so it just turned green.
okay?
My hands
The,
are off the key.
the,
All right.
the colors are a little blown out. It was
Yeah.
so it's green right now.
So the square turns green
Okay,
Square
on the
gotcha.
very top right to show that the 2 have now paired. All right.
What
So
protocol
this
is it using, Laura?
It's using it's wireless. It's called ESP now, which is
Okay.
an ESP protocol for two-way communications between 2 devices, between 2
Ah,
USB
okay.
32s.
Gotcha.
Really basic. It's not like, internet connectable or anything like that.
Right.
Some people have said, oh, well, can I send to my buddy across the internet? No, that's not really what it's meant for,
Right.
right? So Vince and I are, opposite rooms. And so now we can send to each other and practice back and forth. Before we start and actually show that happening,
Oh,
one of the coolest things it does is, remember I said you set your speed and you set your tone, right?
Yep.
For the audio that you want to listen to when you're practicing.
Your side tone, right?
Your side tone
your
frequency.
side tone, your speed, your
and your
spacing, all the
Yep.
rest.
All of those settings that Vince sets and that I set don't have to be the same. And so
Oh.
if he's set for 20 words a minute, all right, and I can only send at 10, let's say, right? I can send away at my speed, and it will buffer it, of course. It has to buffer it before it can send it. And when it sends it, it will play it out to him at his selected side tone frequency and speed. And so now if he sends it, 30 words a minute, and I'm trying to practice at, 12, when he sends, he can send as fast as he wants. And when it comes out on my device, it will play out at my speed settings and tone.
Right.
So,
So that-
I don't get overwhelmed if he's, just rocketing through the letters.
Right.
It will play it back to me at my selected speed, which is what I'm trying to learn and practice at.
So then Vince will wait until all
Dan
the
sends
characters are
something.
sent.
So Dan will send something. I'll keep my hands off the key, and magic
Okay,
will
so-
happen. Now you're seeing Dan's unit.
My camera's not the greatest here for doing that. But really what we're trying to show, you can really read along on Vince's screen if you really want to see what we're sending, right?
Yeah, I have Vince pinned.
All right. And now if you send something to me, Vince, so what I
Ah,
send to him is in color. What he sends is a different color,
yeah,
right?
gotcha.
It's not, it doesn't do, full break in or anything exotic like that, because it's got a buffer and so on, right? But it really does a good job. Like as you know, take your time and literally, um, practice a QSO or sending call signs or sending whatever it is that you want.
Yeah, yeah, that's a neat feature.
Right? And so we can go back and forth, and we could do this all day long.
So this is a
Ah,
great way for two guys who are learning to sit down over a beer, over a coffee, or whatever your liquid of choice is, and work on code together.
right. Yeah, yeah. So what I heard a BK and it produced a pound and did it shoot over an equals too?
I generated the equals.
Ah, okay, gotcha.
So there are some pro signs it does not do,
Gotcha. Okay.
but I mean,
Right.
just add a space between them and you'll see it.
Right. Yep.
Yeah, BK is actually not a pro sign, believe it or not.
Oh.
It's supposed to be sent as two separate letters. So
I did not know that.
now you know.
Oh my gosh, all these BKs that I've
Okay.
been decoding that have been run together. Hypocrisy.
Yeah.
Is okay. So is AR a pro sign?
AR is a pro sign, and BT is a pro sign. Well, not a pro sign. BT is a an equal sign, which is also used as kind of
Right.
a break, carriage return, I guess you could say.
Excellent.
Huh. I did not
So-
know that. I thought it was a pro sign.
So let me show you a couple of the other bits for it that are interesting. So in the sending menu, you can just have practice and you can just randomly type stuff in and see what it says. It'll throw you, now I'm looking at the screen backwards here, so I keep my eyes on the camera. It'll throw me one character, two characters, or a word, and then expect me to play it back and it'll give me a score. So I'll show you what that looks like. It gamifies it a little bit, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
Nope, doesn't let, yeah, it doesn't do any sound effects like that. And then
So-
it starts it from one again.
So Vince, what's happening here is it's sending EG and then you are sending EG, right?
You have
That's
to
correct.
send it back. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
And if you do it correctly, you get a point, right? And the point counter is green, right, as it increments. And if you blow it, then it's red.
Right. I like this.
Yeah. And so it's pretty easy to navigate. You've been watching me here on the close up. I've been pressing. This is a rotary encoder, and that's the volume knob. So it's just two controls. Rotary encoder, select.
Press select.
Press select to get to what you want. And then select the item you're after, and just go from there. And
Yeah.
I got to be honest that there were some early videos I recorded where I needed to get like a real long string of character out in CW, and I cheated.
Yeah.
I loaded this thing up with text, and then I said play it back, and I recorded that, and it was perfect playback, I might say. My skills are better now, but they're still not that good.
And one final value add. So you can see mine is in an enclosure. Now, in order to kind of show the inner workings of it kind of deal a little bit. I didn't put the cover on, but what I did is one of my more recently acquired skills is 3D modeling. And so I modeled this enclosure, measured and measured and measured countless times
Right.
with dial calipers and so on, to get all the spacing and that sort of thing around all of the jacks on the back, the switch, and so on and so forth. And so those that buy the kits, if they want to print this enclosure themselves, I've been sharing the STL files, so you can print your own.
Is it on the website, or where can you get the STL files?
Just contact us,
Okay.
and I'll email it to you.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
R-
I
Re-
send a link to where you can download them.
Yeah, gotcha. Red says, so can you increase the number of characters? I think he's talking about the practice where it was 2.
And no, that's fixed within Bruce Hall's code, W8BH.
So he's got, copy 1, copy 2, copy word,
Oh,
and then
okay,
copy
gotcha.
call, right? So, call just draws from an array of random calls that he's that's written in code.
Okay, gotcha.
And same with the words. So he's got, an array of, I can't remember, 50, 60, 70 words. If you wanted to add words or change the words, right, you can download the source code and then just reprogram the ESP32.
Yeah.
It's just programmed with an Arduino IDE, really, really simple. When I have a whole batch to do, I have to optimize that because that takes a while, because every time you say, upload the firmware, it wants to recompile it. And when we're doing 25 or 30 of these at a time, it gets pretty tedious. So I've got a different process. But the easy way for most people to do it is you can download the code. It is, Bruce Hall does post it on his website, on his GitHub site. So you can download the source code. You can add more words, you can change it, whatever, if you're so inclined, and just then flash the ESP32.
Right. There was a head copy choice in there. What is the head copy? I think it was under send.
Yep.
And
send.
Yeah,
down
so
here.
send and head copy. What is that?
It doesn't spell it out on the screen. So
Oh,
I had to listen to it.
So hence the head copy concept, right? You listen to it and you send it.
oh, okay.
And then it tells you what you sent.
Great idea.
And then if they match, then, you get a point. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, that's great.
That's the best feature right there.
Yeah, I think that's the
When
golden
you get
ticket
to that
right
level
there.
of skill, absolutely, it's great.
Yes.
I'm trying to do this while I'm listening to a live stream. No wonder I'm making so many errors.
Oh,
Can you play Doom on it? Tim wants to know. No, there is no porting of Doom available yet for it.
Yeah, for the ESP32.
Uh,
But who
Grand
knows?
Theft Auto's on there too, though. So, and then there was another choice in there that I saw. It was flashcard.
And flashcard. Oh, right. G. Q.
Ah,
I.
yes,
Good for instant character recognition.
right. What was that? I don't even know. Oh my gosh, an exclamation point. Who uses that? Come
9.
on.
Well, when you're
GG.
calling CQ loudly in a pileup, CQ! Exclamation
sign.
point.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So yeah, it's Charlie's got absolutely the right statement going there in the chat. It is well developed product. That's the one thing we really liked about it. When we looked at this thing, when our friend gave us one, and he gave us these as gifts, and it was very kind of him to do so. We looked at it and we went, wow, there's a lot of features in here. There's some really cool stuff in there, and this looks like a fun thing to build. Now, go to Bruce Hall's website, W8BH, I think it's .net. I'll look that up.
.net. Yep.
.net. And he's got all kinds of cool projects that you can build.
Yeah, I was noticing that. Oh, where did Vince go?
Oh.
Vince dropped off.
Got overwhelmed with CW.
He did.
All of his screens went black.
Oh no! Did he kick the power?
We're not sure.
Uh-oh. Well, I mean,
Hopefully
this
comes back.
Yeah, this is a really cool device. I mean, it's got a lot of things that a new CW operator would need to practice. And so this thing runs off of a USB-C. Has it got a USB-C on the ESP32?
So no, it's a micro USB on the ESP32.
Okay.
So we're done with the demo. So I'm gonna disconnect and take this guy apart. So
I'm just thinking, like, I can take this on the road. I can practice in the airport. I can do things mobile with it, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So without the enclosure, here's the enclosure. It's got the the connectors and stuff. This was a botched print, so don't judge my quality of printing off of this. And the top cover snaps on, right?
Yeah.
And so you just see the knobs and the entire screen. So this is the size of it, right? This is the back side of it. So the ESP32 is on the back. Here you can power it with the micro USB. That's one option.
Okay.
There's a barrel connector over here. I don't know
Yes,
if
see it.
Yeah,
Yep, got it.
okay. So, standard barrel connector, you make your own cable with a power pole or whatever, right? And plugs into that. You can put headphones on it. So there's, two jacks. There's
Right.
There's the key and headphones. Just regular headphones. Now it only does one channel, not stereo, hi-fi or anything like that.
Right.
And some of the other options. So those are the two normal ways of powering it. But if you had, one of the little silver pack LiPo batteries or lithium-ion batteries, there's extra connectors, extra pins that you can put on, and there's a jumper on the board that you can move to power it from the buck converter to give you 5 volts off of whatever 12 volt or whatever input. And then if you change the jumper to the other side, then you can power it off of a LiPo battery or LiPo or lithium ion, whatever you want.
Right.
So it needs anywhere from 3 volts up. It runs really on 5 volts for the ESP and the display, the amplifier module, and so on. There's the audio amp also, right?
Yeah.
And then the speaker, there's, a little speaker that the sound comes out of.
Yeah.
It faces down, so it kind of, spreads out. So there are other options for powering it up. So extra pins over here that, there's enough pins in the kit to add your own. If you want to get a JST connector, there's a spot on the board for a JST connector, and you can plug in one of those little silver foil pack type batteries.
Yeah.
Right into it at 3.2 volts.
Yeah.
You can add another switch so that you can turn it on and off, right? The power switch on the top is when it's plugged into 12 volt power through the buck converter. You add another switch on the side if you're going to power it off of a LiPo battery, right? There is no power switch, of course, if you plug it in directly to the ESP32's micro USB.
Yeah.
Then
So
you want to turn it off, you unplug it.
Bryant says, does it work with all keys or just straight key or just a
Oh,
straight key?
we didn't touch on that. So in the config menu, you can set the type of key that you want. So a straight key or a paddle, and it does iambic A and iambic B. So you can choose your configuration.
Gotcha.
Yep,
And
you
then,
bet.
and then Red says, I think we already answered this question. What is the voltage in the amps?
Amps I've not measured. It's really low. Like if you've got, I had it running off of one of these batteries that Vince built, and this sucker will run all day long on just a little battery pack like that.
We'll
Yeah.
answer that exactly in a minute. I'll plug it into a battery pack.
And then
And measure its, yeah.
And then Red also says 3.7 lipo, good option. Does it charge the
No
battery option? No. Okay.
No charging.
Power consumption, 1 watt.
1 watt.
And it'll depend, of course, on your volume of your audio,
Yeah.
right? If
1
you turn
watt
it
at
up.
idle. It's pretty low.
Gotcha. Very cool. So
Very cool.
yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, so, if y'all want some, we've been pasting the links into the chat. I lost my main computer. It seems to have suffered an overheating shutdown, which is why you have me on my Stroke P computer. Anyway, we've been pasting the link in the chat. Just follow the instructions down at the bottom of the page. You'll see all the pricing and the shipping costs and all that stuff. And we're happy to
Build
fulfill,
price or kit price.
built price or kit price, and then just add on the appropriate amount for shipping. Sorry about the shipping cost. Canada Post sucks in that respect, but it's in Canadian dollars, so it's cheaper than you would think it is. Tim Hortons bucks, as I was saying earlier, right?
So and you have them in stock now, and they're ready to go. And
I have a few in stock, and our next we order these things in rounds because this is a beer money project for us. We're not a large scale enterprise, like Adam Kimberly Enterprises Limited or Incorporated. So we'll bring in 25 at a time, and so we'll get our next round ordered up here really quick, and they'll be ready to ship in about 8 weeks.
gotcha. Very cool. Paul says Tim Horton gift cards accepted.
That could work. We can talk.
It's funny. Yeah, I love the screen. The screen is great. I wish, like all Morse code tutors, they seem to have like these little bitty tiny screens, and they're as small as possible. I love the 3.2 or 3.7 inch screen. It's great.
Yeah, it's called a 3.2, the way that they typically measure. So, it.
Oh, you're right. I can't measure with imperial units. That's my problem.
Yeah. So yeah, these come in, with the long set of pins connected, already soldered on. You just need to add the 4 pins on the other end. And remember I mentioned the SD card slot. Well, there's the slot on the back of the display.
Yeah.
Right.
Gotcha.
And, so the display is connectorized. The ESP32 is connectorized. So it just plugs right in.
Yeah, there's no backwards. Could you? I'm afraid that. Can you solder in the ESP32 backwards, possibly?
Well, so we ship connectors, right?
Okay.
And so you solder the connectors onto the board,
Yep.
and that way it's just plug in and out, as opposed to soldering the ESP32 directly onto the board.
Oh, right.
Now, remember
right.
I said that the silk screen on the board, this is one of the series of boards where we had them made in black. We had a series in purple. The current ones are in green. We're cycling through colors just for variety. But the silk screen shows you the orientation of the board.
Right.
So the antenna goes at the one end, the connector at the other end, that sort of thing, right?
The USB connector goes towards the outside.
Towards the outside, because when it's in the enclosure, right, it sticks out the side
Right.
so that you can plug in a USB cable to power it that way.
Right. Grandpa says memories of the CW hotline. It does not connect into the CW hotline, right?
No, it does
No.
not.
No.
No,
No.
this doesn't connect to anything external other than another one of its kind, right?
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't ever intended to, you know, practice with somebody across the internet.
Right.
You know, there's software that does that, right?
Well, there's CW hotline. If you want to do that, go get a CW hotline device and use
Yeah.
that. That's its purpose is to do that, right?
Yeah. You know, so as standalone, it's great. And with one buddy, now we've tried, I thought to myself, okay, great. It uses the ESP30 or the ESP Now protocol,
Yeah.
which is a wireless protocol that they just chatter to each other. It's proprietary to ESPs, the ESP series of microprocessors. So I wanted to see how it would work. Hey, let's see if it'll do 3 or 4 or 5 together, you know, because we had a few that I had just built, that I had assembled for customers. And before we shipped them out, and because we do test all of them before they go out the door, like, oh, let's just see what happens. And no, it doesn't do one to many or many to one. It's strictly one to one.
No telephone line. No party
No
line.
telephone line,
No party line, you know, no. You
I
can't
mean,
have
that would be a
CW
party. I mean, if you're going to get your favorite drink and then you fire up your Morse tutors with a friend, that's a party.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but again, it's using the native protocol of the ESP32 chip, which doesn't permit that.
Yeah.
So
Gotcha.
yeah, but you know, it is great, you know, to do, like, you can do head to head with somebody else.
Yeah.
And again, the key thing about how it sends at your speed, right? So, you know, you don't have to set up a training session with a practice partner that is at exactly the same level as you,
Yeah.
right? So somebody
Yeah.
could be, you know, like Vince and I could do this. He's, you know, light years ahead of me, and we would still be able to practice together.
Yeah. That was really cool. That it would send, but you would only receive at the speed that you had
your
yours
selected.
sent. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, when I read that and then we tested it, that's what blew me away. It was like, this is the coolest feature of the whole thing.
Yeah. I like the head copy too. I think that's really cool too.
There are so many great features with it, and it just makes it simple. You know, Dan has gone all fancy, and he printed up a 3D case for it. Now, homeboy here, I went to the dollar store and I found a little lunch bucket for it, and my lunch bucket even has a handle that I can carry it around with. Isn't this cute? There's
like a
room
little-
inside for my battery pack.
It's a man
There's room
purse.
inside for my K6ARK key. Boy, that's hard to say. And a few other trinkets, but I can put it in my backpack and take it with me. And if I'm sitting in the doctor's office, plug in my phones and, you know, practice away.
Right.
So
Right.
small enough to carry.
Cool.
So, hey, Kyle, thanks so much for letting us show this toy off tonight.
You're welcome. It's awesome to find hidden gems in the CW learning world and bring them to light. Yeah, it's great.
You know, there's another tutor that a few of the folks in the ham tuber community are promoting. I don't know that product at all. It's getting good reviews. That's great. There's the Morse Sereno that's out there out of Europe. I've had one of those. It's a great product. I like this one the best out of all of them. But and that's not trying to be self-serving. That's just, you know, how I feel about it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Any other questions in the chat? I want to make sure that we get all the questions answered because there's a slight delay. So, TJ, Adam, any questions, thoughts, comments?
I kind of like the flashcard part, you know, that instant character recognition I think is important. And I think that's pretty helpful because it pops it up there with, it gives you what, a second and a half to think about it.
Yeah, it's a it's got some really cool modes that would be very useful for training. And for the price you guys are selling that's a steal. Even, even with the shipping down to the US, you guys are doing a great job with that. So thank you for putting those kits together for us.
Yeah. The
Oh,
random
great.
wire.
We have a lot of fun doing it, and so it is a good service. We're giving back to the community, yada yada yada, right? So yeah, um, we we get together over a cocktail or two, and you know, usually we do the testing before the cocktails, just so you know. That might be an important consideration,
Yeah.
and yeah.
The
Indeed.
random wire asks, is there a build video?
And there are extensive build notes on the W8BH.net website. And he takes you through step by step. You'll put the power board on first, and then he'll say, okay, apply power to it and put your voltmeter on it. Great. Take the power off and let's put the next module on. There's a good, easy to follow instructions on their website. We don't send you those instructions. We point you to the website because we don't believe in killing trees and mailing them out because Canada Post is already very expensive. So anybody can do this.
Yeah.
Very detailed, right? Step by step. And you can't go wrong, and after you've done a bunch, it definitely gets easier. But, if you've built any other kinds of kits, this is definitely on the simpler side. This is not complicated at all. All the parts are marked. The checklist shows you all of the components, right? So you're not hunting and going, oh, where's this? Like it was in the package.
Yeah.
And it is really simple, and especially with, again, Heathkit used to do that back in the day, right? You add a few components, you solder up a few wires, et cetera, a few connectors, right? And then there was a test stage, and you would test it. You see 5 volts on this pin and this pin. Okay, great. Then you move on to the next one, and you add the next few pieces and
gotcha.
stuff. So it's very, very detailed, and you're testing every step of the way.
Yeah. Cool.
And the board is absolutely very, very well made. There's a number of board houses out there, and so we get them made from the same one again. Yeah, JLC PCB, and all of the holes, they're all through plated holes. Probably the hardest pieces to put on are the volume pot and the rotary encoder. But they've got the wider pins that grips to hold the thing secure to the board, and then you've got the actual wires, right? The conductors that go through their own holes. So once you master that and don't, mash it in too hard and so on, it's absolutely simple. And every piece only fits in one place.
Yeah.
You can't get it wrong.
Red says, what test equipment do I need?
A voltmeter.
A voltmeter. I think that's doable.
That's it. Yeah. And it doesn't have to be, a high dollar fluke. It could be just, a dollar store one. Because really all you want to do is make sure that you have, when you apply voltage in and you check the output of the buck converter, that you have 5 volts out. In case it got jiggled in shipping, double check that you've got 5 volts, right on the output pins, and tweak it if you have to, right? And that's it. Everything else, ohm meter, yeah, if something doesn't work, check for bad solder joints, check for cold solder joints, that sort of thing. We had a customer out of Calgary that she ran into some problems putting it together, right? And so, luckily she was in Calgary. There's no shipping and stuff. I said, well, I'll meet you in town. Just give it to me and I'll take a look at it. And, just basically waved a soldering iron over all of the pins because some of them were a little bit iffy. right? And that was it.
Yeah.
It's that's a common fault, right? Check your soldering
Yep.
if something doesn't work.
Yep. All right. Anything else? TJ, Adam, you got anything else for us?
I got nothing to add. I'm good.
Got
Just
nothing?
appreciate the show. Appreciate you having us, and big thanks to you guys again for putting this kit together. It's really cool.
Yeah. I've been putting the links in the chat. The link is in the description below. So if you didn't get it in the chat, it's in the description below. ve6lk.com, Morse Tutor Kit hyphenated is the last part of that Morse Tutor kits is the URL. And yeah, very good. The other thing that, damn fly. The other thing that I wanted to say that I didn't get to say whenever we were talking about Huntsville, and since we're on the Red gave me a thought about this, is Jenna from the Long Island CW Club was there at Dayton, or at Huntsville. If you don't know Jenna is a blind CW operator, and she teaches the head copy class for Long Island CW. She was there at Huntsville and did a demonstration between her and some person that was walking her around and showing her around. They did a demonstration on a QSO, about a 2-minute QSO that I did not get on video, that I got there at the end at 60 words a minute. And it was unbelievable. Like, people were dropping their jaws. And, Jenna is she's probably, probably in her early 20s. And it was unbelievable. Like the 3N3ZN guy, Tony, was just like, he was shaking his head. And he was just like, unbelievable.
He's a man of few words anyways, but yeah, she's impressive. I worked her in CW apps a number of times, and she's sharp.
Gunner, Jenna and Gunner were there. Yep, and they were having a QSO back and forth. I'm not really sure if it was Gunner that was doing the other side of the QSO, but somebody that was there running 60 words a minute, and it was impressive, absolutely impressive. So, all right, we've hit the 9 o'clock hour here in Central Time Zone. I think it's time to go get some ice cream. And
hey, before we do,
yes, go.
Hey, I'm going to shamelessly plug Kyle's video, the top 5 things you need to learn, words you need to learn for POTA. And then he has a whole pile of bonus words. He dropped that video yesterday, and it is spot flipping on.
Thank you,
work, Kyle.
Well, and I got a bunch, so I got to do a follow-up video because, all of you guys put comments in the chat, which are great. So now I need to do a bonus video and say 5 more words you need to learn for a POTA act or a hunt POTA. But a lot of the words people put in were for more of activations, So I'm going to probably expand on that, and at the end of the series, there might be 15 or 20 words that you need to know. But, if you learn them in chunks of 5, I think that's manageable. And then if you get the bonus words, that's great. If not, no big deal. So,
yeah, indeed.
Yeah. Thanks, Vince. Thanks, Dan. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having us to talk about this. I hope that it answers some people's questions around, if they're on the fence, should I just order bits and parts or whatever, or just, order one of these? Hopefully that helped to make your decision. So we appreciate the opportunity to talk about it and also to demonstrate it.
Yeah.
The demo gods were actually in our favor. So
except for shutting down my computer due to overheating, I suspect.
Except for that.
There's a dust bunny in it that needs my attention, but.
Very good. Link is in the description below. I just put it in the chat again. And thanks, guys. We will be back next. Actually, hang on. Everyone just hang on.
This is us hanging on.
I believe we
By
will
the end of our
not.
se-
We will not have a stream in 2 weeks because here in the States that is Labor Day. So
Yes, it is here too.
It is
Yeah.
on Monday.
So everyone, go and labor and enjoy it. Go spend it out in the park. Go do some CW. Spend it with your family. There will not be a new CW operator stream on the 4th of September, but we will be back on the 18th of September with our guest Aaron Bowman. He is W4ARB on YouTube. If you don't know Aaron, go and search W4ARB on YouTube. He does Thomas Witherspoon style activations where he puts the camera, you hear the CW coming across, you see him write down the call sign, and then he sends it back and they complete the QSO, and that's it. There's no there's no online or tagging online or any captions. It's just pure CW with no with just logging. So Aaron does a great job at that, and we're going to have him on to talk about his escapades in CW and POTA. And then again, October 2nd is going to be our regular stream, and then on the 16th we're going to have Evan Thorson. He does another YouTube channel where it's just CW and him logging. So we're going to continue the CW and logging every 2 weeks until, and I think Joshua from Tufton Antennas N5FY will be in November. So be looking for that. So that's what's coming up on the channel.
Aaron Bowman's got a nice Instagram account too. He's pretty active on that.
Yes, you're right. You're right, TJ. Yes.
Hey, Kyle, Quirky QRP says maybe for Labor Day we should just put on the Best of Kyle reruns.
Well, they're all on YouTube. All you have to do is click on the streams and let it run. That's the
Perfect.
that's the best of Kyle reruns. I don't know if there's even
Put
a
it on
best of.
autoplay.
Yeah. So, all right, guys. Thanks everyone. Appreciate it, and we will see you in about a month for the new CW's Operators Roundtable. Thanks, guys.
Thanks. Good night.
Thank you.
TJ, I'm waiting.
DW on, my friends.
Thank you.